riders, how are you doing today? If you have a chance to change your motorcycle every 2 or 3 years, the information I'm going to share, it's not for you. But if you love your bike and you want to ride it as long as possible, stay with me and I will give you some very useful tips. So you have a new bike, you made a proper break-in, you check carefully the manual and you did exactly what it said there. You did it because you want to ride your motorcycle without any mechanical problems as long as possible. That's correct, but is it the right way to do it? Is everything in the manual is written for your bike, for you, for your country and your riding style? The answer is not that simple. And to make it clear, I have to give you an example. The bike will be the same as mine, Yamaha XT660. Regarding to the manual, the maintenance you have to do is once per 10,000 kilometers. So once per 10,000 kilometers you have to change the oil. The oil is supposed to be 10W40, semi-synthetic, nothing special. You have to change the air filter every other change. So if you look from this point of view, it's absolutely simple maintenance and everybody could do it. And if you do it, the bike's supposed to work without any problems. That's okay, but what if we have two different owners? The first guy, we'll call him John, living in Alaska. Oops, sorry guys, I know Yamaha refused to import this bike in the States, so really sorry about it. So let's say the guy living in Norway, in the northern part of Norway. The summer temperatures never go over 25 degrees. He's riding mostly on the road. He never ride extreme or racing. He keep the bike in the garage during the winter and he's doing about 10,000 kilometers per year. The second driver will living in South Africa. His name will be Mike. He's a racer. He rides his Tenere in the most extreme condition you can ever imagine. He doing only off-road. He crossing the rivers. He riding in the dunes, in the sands all the time, climbing hills, make a serious off-road, and it's usually going over 160 kilometers per hour on the highways. He hasn't got any garage, so the bike is staying outside the whole year round, even when it's raining or when it's cold. Mike also doing about 10,000 kilometers per year. Regarding to the manuals, they do exactly the same maintenance. So the question is, which bike will last longer? You don't need to be mechanical expert to realize that the first bike will work much longer. Because the maintenance Mike do, it's not enough for his type of riding. Motorcycle companies selling bikes around the world, so they don't know who is going to buy the bike and how the bike is going to be used. So they have a basic line or the standard maintenance, covered most of the temperature ranges and riding conditions. But it doesn't mean that this maintenance is good or is enough for any kind of rider or riding style. So how often you have to change your oil? It depends of your riding style. Maybe you will resist for a while and you will say, well, if it's written 10,000, it should be okay. I don't care about it. As I said at the beginning, yes, if you have a chance to change your motorcycle every 3 or 5 years, no problem. Ride it and do exactly what you said in the manual. But if you want to keep your bike always in good condition and working condition, just keep watching the video. Most of the manufacturers extend their oil change intervals. So in the cars it's supposed to be 10,000 kilometers, now they move it to 15,000 kilometers, even 20,000 kilometers. In UK, for example, if you buy a new car, you have to change your oil every 25,000 miles. Can you believe this? I'm sure guys, for each one of you who is from the States, now will say 25,000 without changing the oil? Yes, correct. This is what is said in the European manuals. 25,000 miles and it should be okay. I know in America you guys, you're changing your oils every 3 or 5,000 miles. So where is the point? I'm gonna tell you now. It starts with the cars and work mostly with the cars, but it's also start to sink even on the motorcycle maintenance schedules. It was 10,000 kilometers, but I have seen now on BMW is 12,000 kilometers, in some other brands is 15,000 kilometers, I have seen even a 20,000 kilometers oil change intervals. They will say that the quality of the oils today is much better than the oils from before, and the engines are much better, and so on and so on. But all of this is just bullshit, because the engines, if you take for example one old BMW like R80, so the engine is almost the same as today. The difference is only in the cylinder heads. So the engine was 50 horsepower, today is 130 horsepower. So this engine work in much more stressful conditions today. It work harder and the oil intervals are 3 times longer. Is there logic? There is no logic. To explain you why it's happening, I have to give you one more example. I love examples, sorry. So, Germans, I will take example from Germany because I have a better view. So, Germans are very practical people. They love calculators. So they calculate everything. If we take for example Mr. Hans. Mr. Hans going to BMW to buy a new BMW GS 1200 Adventure. So Hans is sitting in front of the dealer and the dealer explained him everything about the bike. So when the dealer finished, Hans of course will have some questions. How often I have to change the oil and how much is going to cost me? And of course the dealer will say, oh, it's nothing to worry about, first 1000 kilometers, after that every 12 or 15,000 kilometers interval. Oil change cost about 150 euro. So Hans will take the calculator and will calculate, okay, I have idea to riding this motorcycle maybe 100,000 kilometers. During this period, if I have to change oil every 15,000 kilometers, I will have approximately 6 changes. 6 changes, 150 euro each one, 900 euros. That's okay, I can buy this motorcycle. But if the dealer said, well, on this new BMW you have to change the oil every 5,000 kilometers, then Hans will be in shock. Oh, 5,000 kilometers. So that means for the 100,000 kilometers I have to change the oil 20 times. 20 times 150 euro each one, it will cost me 3,000 euros. And he'll say, no. The maintenance of this bike is too expensive. I'm going to the next dealer, Honda or Yamaha or Suzuki, and will buy theirs because the maintenance there is on 15,000 kilometers. Did you realize? It's all about the marketing and the business. It's not about your bike. Because the dealer don't care about the life of your motorcycle. The warranty is usually 1 year or 12,000 kilometers. And during that period, for 1 year or 12,000 kilometers, well, it doesn't matter what kind of oil you're gonna use, and it doesn't matter how often you're gonna change or never change, the bike will work fine. But after that, the problems will start, and they'll be probably in the next owner. So, what we have to do? So the simple answer is, your engine life depends on the maintenance you're going to make. I will give you now some very useful tips which will help you to extend your engine life. Number 1. Oil. The oil is the most important liquid in your engine. Without it, it will stop in just a couple of seconds. Change it as often it's needed. If you're riding mostly on the road, 10,000 kilometers periods are fine. If you ride off-road, sands or dunes or dust or any kind of hard conditions, you have to change the oil not later than 5,000 kilometers. If you race, you have to change the oil every 1,000 kilometers or after every race. Number 2, very important, use the oil which is suited for your temperature range. If you have a plans to riding in the hot areas like Asia for example, choose a proper grade for it. 10W40 semi-synthetic, it's good enough for normal roads and normal temperature conditions like between 20 or 30 degrees, it's fine. But when we go over 40 degrees, this oil became like a water and the lubrication is not good. You worn out the engine much faster, and if you have a wet clutch, as most of the bikes do, you increase the chances to burn it faster. Full synthetic oils are much better in the temperature ranges. The differences between 10W40, 10W50 or 10W60 is only in the hot zone. Which is mean that if you're riding your motorcycle in the extreme hot conditions, with the 10W60 you'll have a much better lubrication than with the usual 10W40. Believe me, I tested many times. Of course, it is not so right to use 10W60 during the winter periods and temperatures below 10 degrees. If you do, the bike will not brake, but in the first couple of minutes the clutch will not working properly. Once it gets warm, we'll be fine. Change the air filter as often as needs. If possible, buy a better filter like a K&N or other brands. These type of filters are made from foam, and you can wash it after you ride, especially if you're riding in the sun. After that, you can go home, just wash that filter, and when it gets dry, lubricate it with a special oil, and it protects your engine from the sand and the dust to go in. Number 4. When you start your engine, always leave it to work for a couple of minutes. Do not twist the throttle, do not accelerate, do not start immediately. Just leave it to work for a couple of minutes. The modern motorcycle engines are made from thousands of moving metal elements inside. The oil is the only barrier between all of these moving parts. Warm it properly. When the oil is not warm enough, it cannot lubricate well. So just leave the motorcycle to work for a couple of minutes for the oil to get warm and to have a proper lubrication. Number 5. Be careful with the throttle. Do not go to the high revs without any reason. If your bike is calculated to the maximum revs of 8,000, 4 or 5,000, it's the level you should keep most of the time. It doesn't mean that you cannot accelerate to the 7 or 8,000 if you need to overtake or to make some fast action. No, but it's mean that for example, if you're cruising on the highway, 4 or 5,000 are more than enough if you plan to do this for a few hours. Because the engines are different and the revs are different. Some bikes got about 12, 13, 15, even to 18,000 revs. What you basically need to do is just to keep the arrow somewhere in the middle, between the minimum and the maximum of your revs. When you're riding on high revs without any reason, you're actually wasting your money. Number 6. Use the clutch every time when you change your gears. It doesn't matter you shift up or down. Do not listen the guys from your neighborhood with the fast bikes which will say no, when you shift up you don't need to use the clutch. Or do not look the guys from the MotoGP. They fighting with the time, and after the race the engine or the gearbox will be changed. But you have your motorcycle, you have your engine and you have your gearbox, and if you want to keep it in good condition, use the clutch every time. Learn how to use the throttle to level the revs when you go gear down. What you need to do, press the clutch, twist the throttle and then gear down. It will give you more stability and possibility to accelerate faster if you need to. It looks like a very difficult, but it's not. Actually, when you learn how to do it, it became like a second nature. Just twist the throttle, release and go. Number 7. The engine brake is fine, it's a good option, it should be used, but carefully and with purpose. Remember, the brakes are cheap, the engine is not. And number 8. Last but not at least advice is never twist the throttle before you cut the engine. I have seen so many guys just twist the throttle a few times and then cut the engine. This is the worst you can do. Your motorcycle engine, as I said, is made from 1,000 moving parts. So just imagine in the seconds all of these moving parts moving with about 7,000 revs per minute, and you stop it immediately. It's like to crash in the wall with 100 kilometers per hour. When you do it, what is actually happens, you create small cracks in the metal parts, and during the years these small cracks just destroy your engine. To prove everything I just described to you, I have so many personal stories to tell you, but To do it, I have to spend all day here sitting in front of that camera. I can do it, but I don't know, are you able to listen to me? Everybody who know me could tell you that I have almost zero problems with all of my engines. And the last example I have is my Yamaha Tenere, which is just went over 100,000 kilometers. As usual, thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe for a new video every week. Ride safe. Ciao.